If you're a tech professional worried about getting laid off or have recently been impacted by layoffs, then without a question, you're probably wondering, how do I deal with my equity compensation? Well, today I'm here to tell you exactly how to navigate the most common types of equity compensation and what you should be looking in your equity agreement to make sure that you don't get surprised. Hi, my name is Alex Caswell. I'm a wealth advisor at RHS Financial. We're a Bay Area wealth management firm that serves tech professionals. I've been very lucky to be able to navigate many of my clients through situations like this and make sure that they're making the most of their opportunity. Now, if you like this video, please subscribe, share it, and also check out our blog on rhsfinancial.com. Throughout this video, I'll share amazing links and resources for you to be able to look into as I discuss the different types of things that you should be thinking about. Let's start off with the equity award agreement. Now, this is a document you usually receive when you first start at your firm. This document is going to have two important components for you to be aware of. The first one is your termination cause, with or without. And the second one are what are called restrictive covenants. Now, for most layoffs across the board, this is going to be termination with no cause. However, in unique circumstances, if your manager or managers have deemed you to do something unscrupulous, you may be laid off with cause. If you are laid off with cause, you're just going to want to be very careful and understand exactly what happens with your equity. Sometimes what it means is that you have to forfeit it entirely. So just be very, very careful, especially as you're approaching potential layoffs, how you're navigating your work environment. The second component are called restrictive covenants. Now, restrictive covenants come essentially in two flavors. The first one is non-competes. Non-competes stipulate which company can you go work for? Can you share our trade secrets? What information can you take with you? And it's very, very important to keep track of this because about 40% of all equity agreements statistically will have the non-competes. Off of non-competes are what are called clawbacks, and about 73% of all equity agreements will have clawbacks. And clawbacks specifically say what circumstances or under what circumstances does the company have the right to be able to take away the equity compensation that has already vested, whether it's by taking back the shares, surrendering stock options, or having you pay back in cash compensation. Now, you're thinking, this is insane. I earn these shares, I earn this equity. My company would say something to me if this was going to happen. But believe it or not, it has been constantly debated in court, and courts have sided with the companies. So it is 100% up to you to understand this, to know this. So very, very important thing for you to look over, especially if you're dealing with layoffs or are thinking that potentially you may get laid off. There are 4 different types of equity compensation out there that are very prevalent. You have incentive stock options, equity stock purchase plan, non-qualified stock options, and restricted stock units. Amongst all 4 of those type of equity compensations, the one thing that you should be thinking about is, when is my next vesting date? Is it coming up right before I get laid off? Is it coming up after I get laid off? With some companies, they are very generous. They will accelerate some of these vesting dates for you, so at least you can have another grant or a chunk of that grant come through. This is exactly what happened with Twilio recently. The first equity compensation I want to talk to you about are incentive stock options. Without a question, incentive stock options are the most time sensitive in nature and also carry with it the largest ramifications if you don't navigate it correctly. Essentially, you have a 90-day window to make a decision with incentive stock options, whether you want to exercise them and what you want to do thereafter. After that 90-day period, if you decide not to do anything with them, some companies will allow you to hold that equity compensation, those stock options. But be aware, it is an IRS rule that those incentive stock options will then get converted into non-qualified stock options. There's just nothing anybody can do about that. So you will lose some of the tax benefit. There are 2 things you can do with your incentive stock options within that 90-day window. You can exercise and sell them, especially if the company is publicly traded. If it's privately traded, then most likely you can only exercise and hold. Perhaps neither of those decisions sound too bad. If you exercise and sell, you're going to recognize ordinary income taxes, perhaps lose some of those tax benefits. Now, if you exercise and hold, you can continue to hope for a better future, avoid some taxes now, and eventually reduce your overall tax ramifications. And I'll link an article on incentive stock options so you understand exactly how that works. But here's something that you really need to understand is that The difference between the exercise price and the strike price, whatever that amount is what is considered an AMT preference item. An AMT preference item is a parallel tax system line item, and what it really means for you, without getting into too much detail, is if you are a highly compensated employee, if this difference is sufficiently large enough, you may have to pay what is considered phantom tax. So just be very careful, talk to a tax advisor or financial advisor, and figure out exactly how much you can exercise. Will you recognize AMT? Because it does have large and consequential ramifications in terms of what you're going to do with it going forward. Another equity compensation that we just mentioned on are non-qualified stock options. With non-qualified stock option, the decision is a little bit easier. You don't have to exercise within a 90-day period of time. The one thing you do want to keep you aware of is that with incentive stock options or non-qualified stock options, there's a 10-year exercise window before they just essentially expire worthless. So if you worked at the company for a long period of time or not, and then you just forget about them, there's a chance that they can expire worthless. So just keep a close eye to it. If there's value in these non-qualified stock options, you definitely want to keep track of them and exercise them when you think the time is right. The other form of equity compensation that you may run into, especially if you're working for a publicly traded company, are called ESPPs, or Equity Stock Purchase Plans. Now, the way those work is you have an offer period where you decide to participate. And from the offer period to the purchase period, you're setting aside money from your paycheck before the purchase period occurs, at which point in time you buy those shares. If you get laid off in between the offer period and the purchase period, what your company will do is they will basically take all that money that you've collected and just give it back to you as a check. Nothing else for you to do, but just be aware that you'll probably have an extra check coming your way, or perhaps it'll be tacked onto your last paycheck. Finally, let's talk about restricted stock units. Now, the nice thing about this is there are very little decisions that you have to make here. You either fall within the next vesting period or you don't, right? No additional decision of what to do with them in terms of exercising them. Basically, when the vesting period occurs, if it's before you get laid off, you will get some additional shares and then you can decide what to do with it. As always, with the restricted stock units, you should be thinking about, did my employer withhold enough money for me to pay taxes on it? And usually the answer to that is no. So just evaluate approximately what you think your tax bracket is going to be, or your effective tax bracket, figure out how much they withheld, find the difference, and sell those shares, set that aside for cash for next tax season. Another thing you may want to do with your tax advisor or financial planner, just because the formula can get a little bit complex. At the end of it all, you're going to be stuck, or not stuck, but you're going to be holding shares that you have already exercised, that have already vested. And with these shares, you now have more flexibility. And what I mean by that specifically, because you're no longer an insider, there's no more blackout windows or trading periods that you have to follow. There may be a circumstance where after a certain period of time, after you have left the company, you still may be restricted to trade those shares, so speak to your HR. And of course, you're going to want to think about, do I want to hold those shares? Do I want to sell those shares? Now, you're probably feeling pretty down on yourself and on the company, given the fact that you are about to get laid off or just got laid off, but try not to let that cloud your vision entirely. The markets may not be doing well, and perhaps this is not exactly the most ideal time to sell. Or maybe alternatively, this is such a large component of your overall wealth that it may just be prudent to sell some off. As always, we as financial advisors really advocate for a rational approach to evaluating how much you should be holding and how much you should be selling. All right, in summary, first and foremost, you want to look at your equity agreement. You want to understand if you're getting fired with cause or no cause. You want to understand restrictive covenants like non-competes, who you can and can't work for, what kind of information you can bring, what kind of information can you share, and you want to understand how those clawbacks work to make sure that you just don't get surprised. There are 4 types of equity compensation I spoke today about: incentive stock options, non-qualified stock options, equity stock purchase plan, and restricted stock units. All these are going to have different rules around them, different decisions that you will have to or not have to make. So just be aware of the kind of compensation that you have. Incentive stock options, remember, you have a 90-day window to make a decision, and there are potential AMT consequences. Non-qualified stock options are much more simple in nature, but understand that you have a 10-year window to exercise them, so just don't forget about them. Equity stock purchase plan, you are probably going to get a check back from your company, and then restricted stock units, not a whole lot to do, but be aware that it is very likely that your company did not withhold enough for taxes, so you may be surprised by a tax bill. Finally, figure out what to do with the shares that you're holding. Do you sell them? Do you hold on to them? You are going to have much more flexibility now that you're no longer an insider. As always, thank you for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and subscribe to our channel, share it with friends and family and coworkers, and please like it. I left a lot of great resources in the description to help you round out the information that you just heard from me. And please go check out our blog, rhsfinancial.com, where you're going to find a lot more useful information beyond this. Thank you and have an amazing day.